when they don't have any register in the nation and the Supreme Court confirmed it. You know, these are the problems we are talking about. And the coincidences are many, as I conclude. You remember we've been saying, let IEBC do their work. And really, as the core Kenya team, I can tell the people of Kenya that IEBC for once has taken themselves to where we have always wanted them to be.
All right. I can see Honorable Kangata really dying to say something. Honorable Kangata, what do you think about what Honorable Kaluma just said?
Well, again, allow me to reiterate that I feel like calling the police to have this guy arrested together with any court guy around when you see any court guy, because these guys were peddling false documents. They were peddling false documents because the errors and the mistakes in those documents were so pedestrian, even a child can be able to detect. Because, for instance, you have a situation where you have a guy repeating his name 5 or 10 times. That one goes without saying. That is fake. 2, you have a guy appending a signature but failing to indicate his passport. Here my colleague assumes that when Sakaja gave a press conference, they were doing something that is wrong. No, that's neither here or there. One is very speculative. One can speculate that court will always do something that is fake. So that statement was not born out of a peculiar knowledge
so
of
allegation
Jubilee.
That Jubilee coalition is part and parcel of the IEBC.
No. One, under Article 35 of the Constitution, every Kenyan has the right to access any government information. Meaning, those documents that they took there, they were not secretive, they were not confidential. Even you as a person, you have the right to go and get them. So, as to how we got that information, everyone has the right to access that information. In any event, it was in the heart of court initially. So, we can as well have obtained those documents from our counterparts. That's the number one. There's nothing confidential in these documents. So, when Mr. Sakaja and Duale give a press conference relating to those documents, they did nothing wrong. Number 2, the issue as to whether these guys are competent or not. These guys, we gave them an opportunity to kick out Mr. Hassan and his team. How? There was an amendment to the Constitution which was brought by a CORD MP called Ochien. It proposed to push the election date. One of the effects of that constitutional provision change was to kick out IEBC, because the term of the IEBC clearly ends about November next year. So meaning when you extend the election date, it goes without saying IEBC will not have conducted next year's election. I can recall very well, CORD troops in Parliament, they were given instructions by CORD leadership to oppose that proposal, and they were being told they better have faith in the devil they know, the so-called Mr. Hassan, as opposed to giving Jubilee leeway to constitute alone a new IEBC. So, by that act, these guys gave a mark of approval to Mr. Hassan and his team. So no one in his right mind ought to be saying Mr. Hassan is not doing a good job.
That he needs to resign.
You ought not.
So they're calling for the overhaul of the IEBC, and the IEBC commissioners are saying, listen, we are actually, if you guys are tired of us, we are ready to go home. You can send us home, and we are tired of the threats that are coming from the CORD, that is the Coalition for Reform and Democracy. But Dismas, what do you have to say about the IEBC commissioners as well, saying, you know what, I think we are done and tired?
You know, if you do a very casual opinion poll, you go to Gikomba Market right now, and you get 10 people, you ask them whether they have confidence in IEBC, they'll say no. They'll want these guys
how do you know, surely?
I mean, that's
no, how do you know? Have you gone to Gikomba and done, have you done an opinion poll?
Yeah,
surely that's very speculative.
And I think, Doreen, at this stage, maybe we need to ask our politicians to really engage in a very sober conversation so that we stop appealing to our voters and look at Wanjiko. You know, this is the kind of conversation that in 2007 led to bloodshed in the country. When you have the political class in Kenya focusing on self-preservation and accumulation of wealth at the expense of Wanjiko. For instance, when you have the TNA chairman, Mr. Sakaja, when you have the majority leader, Duale, and when you have the Kiaru MP trying to defend IEBC, And it's known to all and sundry that unless you've been a beneficiary of IEBC, then obviously you know that our IEBC is in trouble. He's a member of the National Assembly. And right now, when you go through the reports by PAC, the entire team is being accused of stealing from Wanjiku. So then how can you have confidence in that body that seems to be favoring one part of the political divide? So really, and when Mr. Rungu goes back to his dark room and is doing his self-reflection, he knows for a moment that IEBC, people have lost confidence in IEBC. And it's important for him to know that it's not always the case that Jubilee is going to be the ruling party. At some stage, you know, it's going to be a revolving door, and we'll see him shedding tears. So whether or not IEBC has got that credibility, they've been told, please go home. And for me, it was shocking to see one of the commissioners saying that if you get that tired with us, you are prepared to pack. Why can they pack and leave? And then the members of the National Assembly who have lost again confidence. You know, IEBC and the National Assembly, they sit in the same square because all of them pursue selfish interest. But now they'll have the opportunity to reconstitute IEBC in a manner that every Kenyan is happy with.
All right. And I think when it comes to, you know, people voluntarily resigning, I think that is one difficult thing, not just in Kenya, but it's an African problem. But I would like to hear from Honorable Kaluma. Do you agree? I guess, you know, it is, I guess, the part of the coalition that you're a part of that is calling for the disbandment of the IEBC because CORD is accusing the IEBC of rehearsing to rig accusing both the IEBC and the Jubilee coalition of rehearsing to rig the 2017 elections. Isn't that too early to speculate on that?
In fact, let me tell you the truth. The fact of the matter is that currently Jubilee is pushing more for the IEBC commissioners to go home than even CORD. The difference is that, yes, I can tell you, because they are saying CORD has, you know, hit IEBC so much that they will not execute instructions effectively. But they want a more lethal team. And we are alive to all that. And that is why you find my good friend Kangata telling the nation that really they were for the removal of IEBC through the bill that was taken to Parliament by Honorable David Ochieng. The only thing is telling the people of Kenya that it's on top of removal of IEBC as an MP, is that that bill was going to give him an additional salary of 5 million from the Kenyan coffers, because we are moving the election date from the current August to December. Let me tell the nation that we had good reasons, not instructions from our leadership. We are leaders on our own right. We had very good, you know, thoughts through this bill. They were telling people you cannot change the budget cycle. And we were saying when you make a constitution, it is the society's life that follows that constitution, not the reverse. So let us change the budget cycle. If you are talking about school holidays, in the same manner we have school holidays in December, in the same way we have school holidays in August. Let us proceed. So let me dissuade you know, people outside there from thinking that we are merely acting on instructions. But on this resignation thing, let me tell you, it is the one jam hurting, you know, proper governance in Africa. I remember I told this show, I think last year, I was in Russia for the United Nations Conference Against Corruption.
Right.
And when we are seated there, we hear there is a small protest in Romania. There had been an explosion in which some 30 people died in a nightclub the previous night. And just some 20 people started it around 10. By 11, we were hearing some 100 people. I can tell the people today by 4, Victor Ponta, the Prime Minister, had resigned. By 5, the entire cabinet was home. By 6, there was a new Prime Minister being sworn in and a new, you know, cabinet being sworn in. The people of Kenya, particularly those who are in public offices, believe those offices belong to them. They tend to believe that without them, those offices cannot exist. They don't see these public institutions as platforms to serve the country. That is why you get a commissioner. And the IEBC is not a small body. This is the body that decides who of all the 42 million Kenyans is the top leader per time. Who of all the millions of Kenyans who ran to be in parliament is the member of parliament from a Bay Town constituency for a period of 5 years.
Right.
Who are the MCAs? What is the governance structure? That is how important the body is. The body determines the leadership of the country per time. So really, why the jest of a commissioner, knowing there is a crisis of confidence, knowing there is chicken gate, knowing that there is this PAC reports, knowing they have been stealing, you know, coming up to tell people we are tired, we can go home. I mean, stop the jest. Just go home. This office is not yours. There are so many Kenyans willing to serve in that capacity in a manner that will invite public confidence now lost back into the institution.
Right. Okay. And now, you know, there are various options that CORD can explore as we speak. And actually, one of the lawyers said that while CORD is aggrieved, they can still go back to court. But if CORD is going back to court, what are some of the options that can be explored? I don't know if I should push this question back to Honorable Kaluma. What are some of the options that we're looking at?
You know, there is no referendum law. IEBC has told the media, but they did not speak to court. We had it like other Kenyans that there is a rejection. That tells you something about the attitude. And remember, before that we notified them, they all scampered away. We don't know whether they went for instructions or what. These are the attitudinal issues you have in the governance that is hurting people beyond their incompetences that we are talking about. But really, IEBC, the fact of the matter is that they have said this thing, there isn't the master of signatures. Remember, the bill should be supported by 1 million people. How they confirm they support it is their business. What options are available are as many as you can imagine. There is no law saying if you don't master 1 million, particularly when others are rejected for reasons which are curable, you have to start afresh. There is no that prohibitive law. So that one of the options could be CORD to sit with the IEBC and confirm that the figures are correct. And we've had cases where IEBC in the past, even in terms of elections, we order recount in court, and we come to a different conclusion. If a different conclusion is come to on figures that favor referendum, it will proceed. If not, it will be a matter of confirming with the people who qualify to be among the 1 million, whether they still want to proceed. And if they do in the manner we believe they do, then other Kenyans will top up that number. All those options are there. It is not necessarily going to court. We can only go to court when there is a joint verification with the IEBC and it is confirmed to them and us that really these numbers do not add up when we are insisting they add up, so that there is a case for court to determine whether the numbers add up or not. If not, it's a matter of topping up or having the people proceed. So the referendum for the people of Kenya, let me tell them, this must be gone through for the very important reasons we wanted it.
All right.
For the
Honorable Kangata, do you think that maybe CORD could be living in denial at this point in time, that they are not accepting the fact that maybe in this instance they didn't actually get the 1 million signatures?
Personally, I strongly believe that CORD knew that indeed these documents are fake. They cannot hit the 1 million mark. It was just a decoy to cheat Kenyans in the view of hyping the political temperature as we approach the general election. Because number one, he is proposing that they sit down with IEBC, and he is the same person who is saying IEBC cannot be trusted. That tells you they want this drama to continue as we head to the general election. Number two, the bottom line to objection to the CORD activities is we want them to respect institutions. There are so many decisions that have been made by IEBC which are not very good when you look from the Jubilee point of view. A good example, there was a decision relating to Mr. Wetangula's petition. It was our view that IEBC ought to have respected the decision of Supreme Court. It ought not to have rewritten that decision. It does not even have jurisdiction to do so. However, it came up with a ruling which appears to exonerate Mr. Wetangula, and Mr. Wetangula is still a senator of the Western region.
Right.
To us, we are very unhappy with that decision, but then again, as people who respect the rule of law, we respected that decision. And I can recall very well that time CORD went out saying how IEBC is good, how it is independent, but now because they want to paint it in another manner, they are busy saying IEBC is not independent. And by the way, Kenyans should recall that how was IEBC as presently constituted established? It was established